In the future, the entire Earth is affected by a new ice age. The temperature drops so drastically that the planet becomes uninhabitable. However, scientists later discover a mysterious portal near the axis that leads to a second solar system. They find another suitable planet, called Rhea. To reach it, scientists use all their resources to open a gateway in a wormhole, allowing people to travel from Earth to Rhea. Using a probe, the scientists discover that 1 year on Rhea is equivalent to 18 years on Earth. Many people, eager to escape the cold and famine, travel through this portal to the new planet. The majority of these travelers are the wealthy and affluent. The poor, however, are forced to remain on Earth, their only mission now being to earn enough money to make the journey. 50 years after the portal opened, 900 years have passed on Rhea. When Earth's resources are completely depleted, a massive migration begins. The inhabitants of Rhea are not welcoming of this influx. They consider themselves superior and different from Earth's residents, and decide they will not allow any more people from Earth onto their planet, citing concerns about overpopulation and chaos. Of course, all the wealthy people have already emigrated and don't care about the poor left behind. The journey and the encounter. In the next scene, we are introduced to Brian Marshall, one of the refugees. We find him attempting to infiltrate Rhea in his shuttle. As he nears his destination, he is attacked by Rhea's security team, as they do with every ship leaving Earth. Now Brian and Addison, his AI companion, are forced to live in a rescue capsule until they can find and board a larger ship, or they will die. With only a few hours of oxygen left, Addison detects a nearby spaceship named Nyssa. This ship, however, is traveling in the opposite direction, towards Earth. Addison explains that Brian must use the capsule's last bit of power to reach the ship, or they will die.
Addison suggests they go for it, but it will require traveling at an extremely high speed, which poses a grave risk to Brian's health. Fortunately, Brian has a powerful anesthetic for such emergencies, but it must be injected directly into his heart. Realizing he has no other choice, the countdown begins, and the capsule speeds toward the ship. Due to the extreme speed, Brian loses consciousness and remembers his last days on Earth. He and his daughter Riley were burying her mother near their home after she died from the cold. After the funeral, they returned to his father's house. His father is saying goodbye to a neighbor suffering from starvation, as nothing grows on the farm anymore due to the cold, causing many people to starve to death. Feeling pity, he gives her a can of preserved food. After she leaves, Brian disapproves of the old man's actions and warns him that it's dangerous for anyone to know they have food these days. He suspects the neighbors will return to steal it. Brian suggests they escape before the neighbor tells anyone they have food, but the old man refuses. He tells Brian that he and Riley will go to Rhea, and he has saved enough money for their passage, so no one needs to worry. Aboard the Nyssa. In the present, Brian finally enters the ship and activates Addison. They walk through the ship so Addison can help him perform a scan. They head to the nearest room, where Brian finds several corpses appearing to have been killed simultaneously. He wants to understand exactly what happened, so he moves cautiously through the ship. He then finds a wall with photos of the crew and realizes they were all residents of Rhea. He recalls that Rhea's inhabitants consider themselves far superior and more evolved than humans. He then finds plenty of food and medicine, but Addison warns him about increasing radiation levels. Addison also tells him that someone else is alive on the ship and is approaching. Suddenly, Brian finds a woman standing in the corner holding a gun on him. Her name is Tracy. She accuses him of killing the crew, but he tells her he just boarded the ship and was surprised to find everyone already dead. He tries to explain, but his position is weak since he entered the ship illegally. Tracy angrily states that the ship belongs to Rhea's people and is part of the security team living on Rhea. She considers herself distinct from Earth's inhabitants and says her team was delivering supplies to the people on Earth to help them, but they generally do not allow anyone from Earth to return to their planet. Brian tells her that Rhea's aircraft attacked him, which is why he was forced to board this ship to save himself, but he did not kill anyone and was unaware the ship belonged to Rhea's people. Feeling that Tracy will never listen to him, he suddenly attacks her and escapes before she can shoot him. But Tracy knows the ship better, catches up to him, and they fight. Brian shoves her away, escapes again, and reaches the medical bay, locking the door from the inside. After taking some medicine, he finds a capsule behind him containing the corpse of one of the crew members. Next to it is a screen with the team's data, which shows that these people were from Rhea and were delivering food to Earth, as Tracy claimed. He searches for information about the woman pursuing him, but he still can't figure out what happened or how these people died. Then, he sees Tracy entering the medical bay again. He hides, suddenly attacks and incapacitates her, and then leaves, failing to realize she has access to all the ship's control systems.
The race to save the ship. Tracy soon wakes up and activates the fire suppression system, which begins to cut off oxygen to the compartments to catch Brian. But Brian finds an oxygen tank and uses it to breathe. Suddenly, Tracy appears again, wearing a mask. The two grapple, and although Brian is weak and struggles against her, he manages to defeat her. At this moment, Addison restores oxygen to the ship. After leaving her unconscious on the floor, Brian prepares Addison to take control of the ship. But Addison suddenly tells him that Rhea's people are hostile to AI and blame it for what happened to Earth, so there is no AI system on the entire ship. In 600 years of civilization, Rhea's inhabitants have not advanced as much as humans. Still, Addison intervenes in the ship's control system, and Brian controls the remaining systems himself. Suddenly, Tracy wakes up, starts banging on the door, and tries to stop Brian from pressing a button on the screen. Brian doesn't listen, unable to understand why Rhea's people, who were once Earth's people, but traveled earlier because they were rich, are allowed to decide who lives and who dies, especially since they all originated from Earth. He also questions why they are shooting at people coming from Earth. But for some reason, Rhea's people believe it is their right and are destroying ships and refusing to share their planet with humans. Brian decides not to listen to her and presses the button to see how he can control the ship. An alarm sounds, and Tracy on the other side can't believe he actually did it. Even Addison disapproves, telling him that the consequences of his recklessness will be severe. At that moment, the ship speeds up, the gravity increases, and Brian falls to the floor. The truth unfolds. Brian loses consciousness, and we go back in time to his last day on Earth. After failing to convince his father to leave, Brian goes to the garden and digs up the box of money he hid so his daughter could travel to Rhea. But Riley hesitates to leave her family. Her father and grandfather feel they are too old to start a new life. To persuade her, Brian tells her he will save money and join her on Rhea within the next 2 years.
Suddenly, they hear an alarm. Brian tells his daughter to hide quickly while he gets his weapon. In the present, Brian wakes up. Addison explains that the ship's system is disabled and someone deliberately destroyed the navigation so the ship would lose control. Furthermore, someone had set the ship's course for a specific location. After Brian restarts the engines, he finds it nearly impossible to shut them off. As soon as they reach the beacon, the gravitational pull of the planets will change their course and they will certainly crash into the refugee station, killing hundreds of people. Brian realizes he can't solve this alone and understands that someone wants this ship to crash into the station, and that person must be the one who killed the people on the ship. Just as he opens the door, Tracy attacks him. He grabs her and sits her in a chair, accusing her and Rhea's people of orchestrating this incident to kill the refugees. He tells her she must change the ship's location or many people will die. She is convinced that humans are responsible and says the Nissa was carrying supplies to the human site, but when they searched it, they found a strange cargo. While they were investigating, she went to sleep, then woke up to the sound of gunfire. The captain, as he was dying, told her he was shutting down the systems. When she went to investigate, she found Captain Deeker telling her that the people of Earth had attacked them, and that's why he shut down the ship's systems. When she looked at the systems, she found Brian, which is why she thought he was the killer, especially since people on Earth are always attacking them. Brian repeats that he entered after the incident happened, and remembers the man in the medical bay, whose name she says is Deeker. He suggests that perhaps he is the one who killed the crew before going to the medical bay. Addison reminds them that if they want to live, they need to work together. Addison explains that the ship is flying toward a cluster of space debris. If they hit it, the ship will be destroyed, so they need to make a decision. The two go to the engine room. Addison tells her she needs to control the equipment manually, or they won't be able to change the ship's direction. Tracy goes to the engine room to carry out the task, while Brian needs to pull a lever from inside. The final confrontation. At that moment, Deeker wakes up and emerges from the medical capsule. He finds Tracy attempting to adjust the engine. Brian, on the other side, warns her that there is a lot of debris ahead. They start working on the second engine, but Tracy's oxygen runs out. Brian rushes to save her. Addison then tells them they need to control and run the engines together. The two grab the levers and the ship changes course, but it shakes violently. They complete the maneuver and crash in a specific area, but the danger isn't over yet. After the third turn, Brian almost loses consciousness. Tracy resets his dislocated arm, and he passes out from the pain. He flashes back to the past again, recalling when their neighbors came to his father's house with weapons to steal food, just as Brian warned. The neighbor they helped actually told her family about the food they had. When his father asks them to leave, the neighbor refuses, saying his family is starving to death. To pressure them, he tells one of his men to look for Riley. When a man opens the storage room door where Brian is hiding, Brian and the old man shoot and kill them. Riley comes out to check on them, but she finds the neighbor's wife with a gun as well. She shoots Riley after her family was killed. Brian kills the woman, but it's too late, as she has already shot Riley.
A new hope. Returning to the present, the duo has saved the ship from the meteors. When Tracy notices Riley's picture, Brian confesses that his daughter is dead. Surprisingly, Tracy tells him that her family is dead too. She explains that they used to come to Earth to deliver food to the people still living there, but Rhea's government didn't like them helping Earth's residents. They told her that Earth's people killed her family to take the food, which is why Rhea's people grew to hate Earth's people. Brian tells her that Earth's people never did that, and that Rhea's government must have lied to them to find an excuse to prevent Earth's people from coming. He tells her he didn't want to leave Earth but had to, because he promised his daughter he would at least try to survive. Addison tells them that they escaped the meteor shower, but they still need to complete the work because the last designated location will still cause the ship to crash, so they need to change the remaining navigation system. Brian needs to go to the navigation section and remove the burnt circuit boards. The problem is that the temperature there is minus 30 degrees Celsius, so he puts on a suit. Tracy laughs when she sees him, recalling that Rhea was always warm, but he tells her that Earth was warm too, and one day he will go live on Rhea. Brian enters the cold area and searches for the burnt boards. Meanwhile, Deeker breaks the control unit, as he has another plan for Brian. He wants him to die and be unable to leave that room. Tracy notices this and goes to the corridor where Deeker's. She's shocked by his actions, especially since he was also one of the original migrants. Deeker confesses that he had no other choice because Rhea's people had his children and threatened to kill them if he didn't destroy the station. For them, the ideal solution was to have a person from Earth kill his own people. The wealthy people from Earth, ever since they traveled to Rhea, have been figuring out how to prevent the general population from joining them on the planet. That's why they made the people there hate Earth's residents, fabricated excuses about travel times, and started fighting the ships coming from Earth.